We'll get this right eventually. Oh, wrong button. Hey, everybody, and welcome to Superhero Speak. I'm your host, Dave.
And John.
And not enough time to switch out of a appropriate shirt down. So here we go.
Who says that's not appropriate?
It is Sunday night, right?
It is. I just
the
don't
game's
imagine
over, isn't it?
Yes, it is. They won, but I just don't. I know the Venn diagram between geek storks and football fans is not. Well, you know what? Nowadays, it's kind of one and the same. But
well, there you go. And Kansas City won in the last possible minute. Did you see that?
I was listening to it on the radio and the only reason they won is because there was an incomplete pass, but
there
was a flag that gave them the first down.
Yeah.
Closer to the. So yeah.
Pass interference call. Yep.
Did they score enough birdies?
They won by 1 point. It felt like it was fixed. That's all I'm saying. I'm not going to get into that, but
I don't know anything about sports.
But other than that, how is everyone doing? We almost had a total disaster before we started. So, John, how are you?
Dude, in was it 11 years? That is not the most total disaster we have had.
True. This is very true.
Yeah, I can think of a few interviews that went way worse than that. Okay, yeah, no, I'm doing fine. Just been a week, a normal kind of week.
Normal for you, or normal for normal?
Well, normal for me, and
okay.
That I'm stressed out trying to get something out the door at work, and life keeps getting in the way. But otherwise, kind of. I've noticed the Halloween stores have gone up. People have started putting their Halloween decorations up. Mm-hmm. And I've seen one or two stores that started putting Christmas decorations up, and I'm like, what?
Don't get me started.
Just like, come on, man. Life moves to his. But anyway, I mean, I always take that as a sign that life is really so bad for so many people that they want to get to Christmas where they can actually feel some happiness.
That's what. There might be some truth to that. I take it as a sign of, the economy is still doing bad since the pandemic, and people are pushing holidays sooner to make more money. The stores are,
Well, there's that too, but when you see it on a regular house,
yeah.
Although there is a house on my way to work. I know I'm taking a little bit of time here, but there's a house on my way to work. Maybe I should get a picture of it, and then you could put it up here so we can show people next week. But they do the 30-foot tall like skeletons and stuff. But like, this is one of the known houses in my area where the people are absolutely freaking rich. And so they have like 50 of them. Like right now they have the 30-foot skeleton and the 6-foot dog skeleton right next to it. Like, and they put up a few witches, and like, this is their prep time. And by the time Halloween rolls around, it's going to be freaking amazing.
Well, there you go. I do appreciate the people that put a lot of effort into their decorations, because it does take time and commitment to do that.
But you got to wonder, like, I know their house is big, but where the hell do they store those things? Unless they hired a professional. I hear that around here they have professionals now. You hire them, they come in, they install the stuff, you rent it for a while, and then they come pick it up later.
Wish I had the money to do that.
Yeah, I know, right?
How about you, Don? You got the money to do that?
No, I don't have the money, and even if I did, I would not have the motivation. Like, like my wife does a lot of cute stuff inside the house. She's in charge of the decorating. So but we don't go balls to the wall, the
Right.
30-foot skeletons and the dragons and the Darth Vader. And even for Christmas, like the most I'll do is I'll buy those spotlights that just like, boom, done. I'm not Clark Griswolding it up, my roof and stapling all the lights and then they have to troubleshoot. That's not me.
I think though for Halloween this year we should all put a giant Darth Vader up.
I wish I could afford it.
That would be, that we should probably do. Yeah.
Well, besides the football and the
Yeah.
wife decorating, anything new with you this week?
No, the only thing this week did kind of suck a little bit because for half of it I was basically a single father as my wife had a work convention to go to down in Florida, of course. So she was gone from Wednesday to this morning, so it was like single dad o'clock over here in the Daniels house. That's but I'm an involved dad anyway. Like I cook and I'm the one, I work from home, so I'm the one that's home when they get from school, and so it's not that bad, but it's a little taste of single fatherhood. A little bit rough.
Yeah.
A little bit rough.
A little bit.
How about you?
I kind of think that was like maybe the baby boomer generation that was still like the man just went to work and the wife stayed home and took care of the house and stuff. My father-in-law, rest his soul, if my mother-in-law went away for like a couple days without him, he would starve. Like he would not feed himself.
Yeah.
It's but yeah, like I was never like that when my kids were young. Like, no, gotta help cook once in a while. My dad, though, I will say that my dad, he cooked on the weekends. So
yeah,
I'm
just a better cook, so I do it.
Yeah. Yeah, not much going on with me. It's had a week. Really can't say anything good or bad about it. I just just girlfriend was busy. Didn't get to see her at all this weekend, so that was rough. And just feeling my age the last few days. So
A lot of people are.
Though, it's funny though, because you feel your age, and I think back to like when I was young, and I was thinking when I was like 19, and when I had my first girlfriend, and I remember, when I was going to meet her parents, and she invited me over for dinner, and I was all excited, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to go to the pharmacy and get a box of condoms, because who knows where the night's going to go. And I go and I talk to the pharmacist and I'm buying the condom. He's like, "Oh, you got a hot date tonight?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And I know what? Second thought, let me get 2 boxes. Her mother's kind of hot too. And he's like, "Oh, okay." And then I bought them. I went on my merry way and get to her house and we sit down for dinner and her mother says, "Oh, Dave, would you like to say prayers?" So I was praying. And I was praying, and I was praying, and I was praying. And my girlfriend finally nudged me and said, "I didn't know you were so religious." And I turned to her and I said, "I didn't know your father was a pharmacist." There's your inappropriate joke of the week.
Can I add one?
Sure.
The only thing that the only advice my grandmother ever really gave me was, "John, be good. And if you can't be good, be careful. And if you can't be careful, name it after me."
Right.
Nice. What if it was a boy? Wait a minute. What was your grandmother's name?
Well, Elizabeth. So.
Well, there you go. So
it was inevitably going to be a girl in her family. So anyway.
All right. I do have a question of the week. I was thinking about this. There have been a couple things that have popped up this week. This is obviously related to our main topic, but we'll get to that. But the question is, and I'm kind of curious what you guys think. should actors or actresses sign over the rights to their likeness and or voice? And if they do that, what should they be compensated when it's used going forward? Like, should they get some kind of residual when their image and or voice is used in a project going forward?
Oh,
Kind of
there is
curious.
no doubt about that. Like the whole idea of signing away like the rights to your likeness and voice post leaving the mortal coil is kind of controversial because you never know. Like, I mean, even in my family, I don't know that I'd trust anybody in my family with the exception of my sister, who's a saint and nobody can convince me otherwise. That with managing it the way I think I would have wanted it to, I just and with the advent of AI and all these video generators now, not just image
Yeah,
generators,
yeah.
but video generators, I would not trust that in 10, 15 years, it will be a hellscape for people who sign away their stuff or sign away their their voice and everything.
Yeah.
And that's not to mention, when does the trademark end? Because they
Yeah.
just, like, Steamboat Willie just came out of trademark. Mickey Mouse and the whole Mickey Mouse crew are next. So are Warner Brothers, Bugs Bunny, and all them's. So, like, James Earl Jones, his stuff goes out of trademark copyright. Okay, so anybody can use him after that. Anybody can use Darth Vader in a Mickey D's commercial or something, or for
It's
some construction company. I mean, like, it's, I don't know. I don't like where this is going. I don't think they should. I really don't think they should, because it's just, there's too much bad stuff coming our way.
What do you think, Don?
Well, I think, seeing as I voice the character, I I thought about it a little bit. So let's say that Aesop becomes this huge character that I voice, and it garners a generation of fans,
Mm-hmm.
and I know I'm going to pass on, and I also know, okay, maybe I can make a little money by selling the rights to my voice that can benefit my family, maybe even a charity or something like that. So I absolutely think it's something that should be done, as long as it's fair to the owner of that voice. Now, obviously, when they pass on, they would need to have something set up, whether it go to a trust, a charity, or their family member. And you're right, 180, 80, 100 years down the road, that could all get lost in the mud. And all of a sudden we're hearing, a 100-year-old voice with a character. Obviously my vote's going to be for them compensating the family or the estate for that. But in general, I want Darth Vader to always sound like James Earl Jones.
Mm-hmm.
I want Optimus Prime always to sound like Peter Cullen. In fact, the new movie that I actually hear got pretty good reviews, where Optimus Prime or Oren Pax is not voiced by Peter Cullen. I'm actually like, okay. Like, I don't know. I'm to me, Optimus Prime, Peter Cullen, he's still alive even.
Yeah.
So I do want characters to maintain those personas, those iconic voices, as long as they can.
Kevin Conroy.
Sure, exactly. But at the same time, I don't want, Disney to be able to use James Earl Jones' voice for the next 200 years. And he has family members out there, that could benefit from it, and they're not.
And what family members benefit? Like, if you go like 1 or 2 generations, there could be like 40 different people, and now you've got to fight in the courts over who gets the money.
Yeah, I mean that will definitely be a thing. But again, selfish me, I always want Darth Vader to sound like James Earl Jones. Optimus Prime to always sound like Peter Cullen. That's just me.
It's a difficult it's a difficult question. Like, I'm not 100% sure how I feel about it for a few different reasons. Because you can also look at it from the other side of the coin. Like, George Lucas created all these characters, and eventually he will pass on, right? I mean, but he sold Lucasfilm to Disney, but I'm sure he still gets something as, the creator of the universe, right? Like, I mean, he still gets credit on all the films and everything. So, um, yeah, I'm not sure. And like, I kind of feel like, and I agree with John in a lot of ways, and I kind of feel like one of the things that would stop people from just stealing it is if by law you had to give even a small residual check every time you use the voice going forward, to the
Yeah.
family. That would a make them hesitant to keep doing it, so it wasn't used like 1,000 times, because it wouldn't be like, oh, we paid for this, let's keep using it every chance we get. And two, I think it would, like, people who just use the tools that are available online, that's the thing that scares me the most, is that these tools are available online for anyone to use. It's not like it's locked and only professionals can use it. It's locked in a cage somewhere. And but it would give you grounds to sue people that just use the voice on videos online, and then Disney could go after those people if they own the rights to the voice.
They could, and just imagine if you will, if it was set up to where, like, sure, go ahead, use, so and so's voice, but the minute somebody proves that they're of their lineage, next of kin, you got to pay out.
Yeah.
Like, you open yourself up to just to be liable in general. Again, if nobody's other than Disney or whoever is profiting from this,
And
that could cause some trouble.
but see, you got to take into account. Okay, somebody proves they're a great grandchild or grandchild or something. Warner Brothers, the first thing they're going to do is bring it to the courts and then keep it in the courts for as long as they can, bankrupting whoever is bringing lawsuit against them, because they have the money to do that. Like, there's no way to skew this unless they passed actual laws like the European Union does. There's no way to make this fair for the people who should have the right to say what happens or what doesn't, because
Right.
the corporations run America, and the mouse would just run over anybody. And
with all that,
Mhm.
but with all that said, imagine you are voice actor or actor A, you were typecast in that role, so you're basically poor because you've never gotten any other work beyond this original monumentous character that you made, and you have a chance to become a millionaire again by signing off your voice. Like, who's going to tell that person no? But you're right. After the fact, it's going to go through this process, where it's out there and anyone can use it, particularly the people that originally had the right. So
we would need very, very stringent rules and regulations around that. But that would go under the heading of privacy laws, which is something that the U.S. is historically incredibly bad, regressive, and still stuck in the 1700s about. So, like, until that happens, I wouldn't trust it at all. And I'd say, no, once the person's dead, they shouldn't be given, you shouldn't give the rights to your likeness or voice at all. And Thrawn Killer has a point here. Because, imagine you're diametrically opposed to a political party, and they start using your stuff, like James Earl Jones voice, using his voice to promote a neo-Nazi or something, right? It's like I mean, that could happen. So,
well, that's the other thing too, and like, I don't want to get into all of that, because
I know, but it's
What are you doing? We don't do that here.
it's
But
a good it's an example of what can happen.
But it also comes down to the problem with a lot of things, because it's licensing companies that own the rights to these things after a certain point, and as long as you go to the I was going to say AMA, the board that controls this stuff, the licensing for music, and you pay whatever fee it is to use a song, like as long as you pay the fee, you can use it, and that's so. But there isn't right now. There isn't anything that controls that kind of stuff for this, a voice or an image or whatever. There's no controlling body for that. So yeah, it's something that gets going to get messy a lot faster than that before it gets before anything makes sense. You know what I'm saying? Like this is going to be a mess for a long time, and it's going to it's the technology is moving so fast with this that it will be by next year. You're going to see fully animated or not animated. You're going to see a commercial with somebody talking, and it's going to look real, and it's going to be all AI generated. So. My favorite. Hold on, real quick. My favorite are the ones you see them now, and it's like the Joe Rogan podcast, and he's talking to someone, and they're talking about some product, and it sounds real, but then you realize like it's an actual footage from the podcast, the Joe Rogan Experience, but his mouth is either not moving or it's not moving in sync with what's being said. So they used one of those tools to generate his voice selling whatever this product is and threw it on the video, and it's just like. It's insane. Like,
well, they had an entire conversation between Joe Rogan and Steve Jobs, who's been dead.
Right.
Dead,
and and all that. Yeah, exactly. And that was the thing, and that went viral. So like all these little commercials that are trying to sell some kind of penis enlarger or whatever whatever junky thing they sell on the internet. Yeah. I wouldn't know anything about that.
James Earl Jones selling slap chops. Yeah.
Oh my god. So yeah,
move over, Mr. Popeil.
That's the scary thing, is that I think the first step is going to have to be regulations, like some kind of board that oversees the rights. Because I'm telling you right now, Anthony Daniels is going to be the next one. He's going to sell his voice for C-3PO because he's not going to be around forever. And he's the only one that's ever voiced C-3PO in anything. It's always been him. In any of the cartoons, commercials, holiday specials, he was the voice, period.
They said that about Jim Henson. A lot of the Muppets were voiced by him, and they've done a pretty good job of finding people who could sound the same.
Thrawn, we're selling the Swedish penis pump enlarger. It's a $24.95. Link in the description below. Anyway,
you've never heard of a slap chop?
Thrawn? No, what is that?
It's like,
what about a shake weight? Ever see those?
Oh, the shake weights. I remember the shake weights.
The slap chop is
where you slap it.
You slap it and it cuts up the onion or the garlic or whatever.
Yeah.
Look how easy it is. I just put it put the garlic in, and I slap it down on the table, and there it is. You have cut garlic.
I like the James Earl Jones shake weight commercial better. I can see that coming.
Now get your shake weight. Yeah, the slap chop was mentioned in Deadpool. We definitely are not
going to resolve this anytime soon. I do think that we need regulation, and we need to be like a defined penalty for this kind of stuff. So we'll see. But on that note, if you want to know where you can follow more of Superhero Speak, see some other great podcasts. Here's Dark Dawn. This is appropriate for the week. Telling you where you can find more Superhero Speak.
Good evening, plebeians. Darth Dawn here to tell you that Superhero Speak is not just a YouTube show. It is also a website. You will go to superheroespeak.com where you can find all the social media links to the show, comic reviews by Chris, and most importantly, our merch. You will buy our merch. And while you are on the HoloNet, you must check out the rest of the Geek World All-Star Podcast Network, an influential conglomerate of podcast shows like the Pop Prism Power Podcast, Colt 45, That's So Wizard, Fans on Patrol, Twisted Mind of 8-Bit Ray and the Gorilla Brain Podcast, and of course, the Powerful Superhero Speak. Plug in hashtag GW All-Stars, and you will not be disappointed. And if you do not comply with my request here tonight, I will torture you by making you watch The Acolyte, the one and only season, over and over again. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a double feature to catch. They're showing Blade 2 and The Matrix Reloaded at the drive-in. Now, back to the show.
Nice.
I don't know how I come up with this shit.
That's an appropriate punishment there. Yeah, I like that one.
Blade 2. And wait, I'm sorry. Blade, it's too much rum. Blade, what made you choose those movies? Just because you're two of your favorite movies, or?
No, because they both feature black leather trench coats. Weasel from Deadpool 1 actually made that joke when Francis and them came to the bar, and he's like, "Hey, where y'all going? Midnight showing of Blade 2?" And he mentioned a monochromatic. Yep. There you go. So that's it. Just the leather trench coat I was wearing. Yeah, dark Jamook.
There you go. All right. Well, did you have you guys done an Omega Level Nerds this week, or?
No.
I thought of all people who would have also done another memorial show, it would have been you.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't tell you, I'm a bad podcast leader. Like I said, I heard a kitty.
I think that's John.
Oh, yeah, my cat's being very, very, very active today.
Well, if you've gotten this far in the show and you haven't done so yet, please that subscribe button. Click that bell for notifications so you don't miss us when we go live here on Sunday nights at 8:30. And if you are enjoying what you're watching, smash that like button. It really does help with the algorithm. Gets our show out there, and all of that jazz. And if you're so inclined, check out our merch store. Link is in the description below. Some great T-shirts out there to pick up and show your love of John, Don, and I here at Superhero Speak. So, yeah. And now that I've bored you with that, we are going to take a quick commercial and be right back with some news.
Some podcasts are like this.
So I had this debate the other day in the car. So Helen Keller. So apparently someone said that she flew a plane.
Is that right?
Yeah. And I'm like,
well, how does she fly a plane? How does she fly a plane if she's hiding in the closet? What? How does Helen Keller? What?
You were... Shut up. Shut up.
Did she get free and then fly the plane?
Oh my God. Oh my God.
What is happening right now?
There was like a live audience. and I could ask them, does he even deserve me to continue? Oh my God. I'll give you one more chance. Helen Keller. What is she known for?
She wrote a book in the attic.
That's Anne Frank. Helen Keller's the woman that was blind and deaf. We're cut.
And some podcasts are like this.
DC Talk used to have this song that was like, we're just two honks and a Negro serving the Lord.
What? You lying? Hold on for a second.
When you really break it down, we're just two honks and a Negro serving the Lord. We're just two honks and a Negro singing our song.
Bruh. See what I'm saying? See what I'm saying?
But only one podcast is where you can get in-depth analysis like this.
And murder them like they are getting like emulted, like they're being burned the fuck alive.
Yeah, they are literally turning to ash.
It was Thanos snap. They're like,
but it was two butt cheeks instead.
Yeah, two butt cheeks of our Lord.
Thanos clapping.
You are now listening to Cult 45.
This is Beat 'em Down.
And I'm Random Randy Savage.
Find us on all your podcatching apps like Podbean or Spotify. And follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Or just go to www.cult45podcast.com.
Also, check out our YouTube for that sweet, sweet video content.
Cult 45, the only podcast that puts hair on your chest.
Ron says, if you guys actually did review the Helen Keller story, that would be legendary. You want to see three nerds try to talk about one of the most horrific times in history? Maybe if we were all drunk.
Yeah, really.
That's already been done. It's called Drunk History.
I don't know. All right, let's talk a little news. So first off, I gotta mention this at the top of the show. We talked last week about there's rumors that Blade and Armor Wars are going to be canceled over at Marvel, and they were supposed to make an announcement this week, and no announcement has come out about this. So we don't know what's going on with those two shows. Don Cheadle did make a comment in an interview that kind of led people to think that maybe it is canceled. But again, there's been no official announcement. So hopefully we know something soon. And again, we'll talk about it when it comes up. But figured since we talked about it last week, we had to follow up this week. All right. New news. Marvel is releasing a prequel comic to their upcoming animated show, Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. And it'll be coming out in December, the first issue. I believe it's just a miniseries. It's not going to be an ongoing. And this is interesting because obviously the show is going to, the cartoon is going to be, he's already going to be Spider-Man in the show, so they're not going to touch on his origin and whatnot, and that's why they can do a prequel. I'm not sure how I feel about this idea. If you look at some of the artwork, it looks weird as well. So I'm kind of curious what you guys think. Don, did you look at the article? Did you look at the artwork? What did you kind of think of this?
Yeah, I think that these sorts of things are actually really cool.
Okay.
I could see maybe some people being frustrated because they don't want to go out and get a comic. They may not even know about this comic till it's too late. And so they may feel ripped off a little bit because, there's parts of the story that they didn't know about and it's in a comic. Again, maybe they don't want to read a comic or didn't know to do it. But on the other side of that coin, I really enjoyed right before The Force Awakens came out, they came out with a 4-part miniseries for Star Wars. And I think it was called Shattered Empire, Road to Force Awakens. And that was actually a 4-part miniseries where you could see the Luke Skywalker we all wanted to see, right? Like badass, just, rolling up, taking out a whole Star Destroyer with the stormtroopers to extract 2 Force trees. One he keeps, and the other one he gives to Poe Dameron's parents, which explains why he's such a badass pilot, because he grew up next to a force tree, which means he is very force sensitive. Now, unfortunately, they did not explore that as much as I would have liked in the movies, but because I read that series, I knew exactly why he could basically do whatever he wanted inside of an X-Wing, because he is a very force-sensitive pilot. But again, you don't know that if you didn't read that series. So it's a double-edged sword. Someone like me, I like that stuff. You know, you like Star Wars, you like comics, comic book movies, and the actual comics they come from. Great stuff, as long as you know it's there. But some of the normies might not exactly like it, and they may not ever even know about it. So that's why ultimately I'm for something like this. I think it's pretty cool. Hey,
okay.
Yeah,
What did you think, John? Did you have any thoughts on this, or you're not a Marvel guy? I know, but
yeah, but I like the more interesting stuff. This could be This could be interesting. It gets tricky. Release you reveal something in here, then something a scene in the movie relies on that, and you have to walk the tightrope of, you make it just good enough that the people who read the prequel are like, oh yeah, that's the thing, and at the same time the people watching the movie are like, oh, that's interesting, I mean, I don't see anything wrong with it as long as they're not like Marvel's problem right now is they were forcing us to watch the movies and then the shows and this and that, the other thing, and they're putting out too much, so
right.
we'll
Wait,
see.
this is an animated series that is totally separate from the MCU. So I think that's one of the things I'm looking forward to is watching the Spider-Man cartoon where I don't have to worry about what's going on and with Tony Stark and the Avengers and all that crap. I think it's a little weird because everyone knows Spider-Man's origin, right? Like from the comics, he gets bit by a spider. His uncle gets killed. He doesn't stop a robber. That robber kills his uncle, and then his sense of responsibility, he becomes a superhero. Like it's been done 1,000 times in 1,000 different ways. And the idea of elongating his origin, it just seems weird to me. But again, unless there's like I know nothing about the series other than it's a Spider-Man cartoon separated from the MCU. I don't know. Like, is there going to be something in the show where like let's say he's already established and his main villain is Doc Ock, and it's like, well, what's going on? Like, this might explain how he became a thorn in Doc Ock's side, and too much rum, and that's why they're adversaries in the show. Okay, fine, but like it was also weird because he's wearing he's got this backpack with these hoses attached to his web shooters. Like, what is that about? That was weird. He's got these really big web shooters on, and he's almost in like street clothes with his mask on too, with knee pads. I'm just like, I want to do something different with Spider-Man, and here's my opportunity to do it. It's detached from anything else in the past, which I get, and I applaud a different approach to the character, but I don't know. We'll see. I'm definitely going to read it.
They're just showing the evolution of his technology,
Yeah, I know, but I find it weird when somebody approaches any character. I don't care if it's Superman, Batman, Spider-Man, Green Lantern, whatever, and all of a sudden they want to try to come up with a real scientific explanation of why his web shooters work. Let's be honest. That's technology that could never exist in the real world. Not as far as we know, right? Like this idea of this liquid that he shoots out becomes a solid, becomes a string strong enough to hold him while he swings through the city, let alone web up bad guys and all that other stuff that he does with this incredible stuff he does with this webbing. It's not possible. So I don't need a scientific explanation to try to make it seem like it's possible. Like, I'm just enjoying the character and the crazy things he's doing, But we'll see. I mean, I'll read it. I know I'll read it because it's Spider-Man.
It's just always, and maybe I'm just a boomer curmudgeon, but it's always a red flag when I want to put my own spin on the character. I don't know, man. That more often than not does not produce great results. But yeah, I'll stay open-minded because you're right. They could just be showing an evolution as long as they get there.
Yeah,
You know,
I'm sure, because I mean, at this point it's animation. That show is done. It's in the can. They probably showed it to the guys writing the comics to say, okay, now come up with a story that explains how he got to this point where the show starts. So I hope it's good.
Two things. One, to Kassan's thing about me forcing the rest of you guys to watch Arcane to the second season when it comes out. I hope so, because the trailer looks freaking awesome, and if they continue the storyline, it's gonna be great. The other thing about Spider-Man, there was talk about Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse is now delayed until 2027.
Yeah,
Jeff Snyder came out and said that they had actually scrapped. He used the word scrapped most of the existing work. He later came out and retracted that, though he does say that there are creative differences behind the scenes about the script. Leave it to Hollywood to screw up one of the best things we've ever gotten.
Yeah, I didn't include the articles because there's so much still going on with it. I wanted to wait till they figure it out, because at the end of the day, Sony's going to sit down and say, no, this is what we want you to do. We want it out by this date. Make it happen. And
well, it's already in production. I mean,
right.
The sheer amount of animation on that show is unbelievable. And they were saying it was supposed to be out of May this year. That didn't happen, of course. And then 2025, and now they're saying 2027. So who knows what shenanigans are going on behind the scenes now. And I don't know why they would ruin the best moneymaker they've got. But
well, speaking of Spider-Man movies, did you guys see that Destin Daniel Cretton? Not sure. It's Cretton. Right. Okay, Cretton. The director of Shang-Chi has been tapped to direct Spider-Man 4, which has obviously led to people going, oh, that means there's not going to be a Shang-Chi 2. No, that doesn't mean that. It just means, obviously production would be back on that, or they would find someone else to do Shang-Chi 2. We'll see. But I liked Shang-Chi. I really thought it was done well. So I'm kind of excited about him coming in to take over Spider-Man. What do you guys think? Don?
Yep.
Oh.
No, I'll just say yep, I'm done. Go ahead, Don.
Yeah, Shang-Chi was an interesting film because I feel like, if I remember correctly, it was it's the first film after Endgame. And the film that they released in theaters right before everyone just started releasing things on streaming services. So I remember during just, the beginning of the pandemic, actually going to the theaters, watching the movie, liking it a lot. I'm not exactly a fan. I mean, it's a better Mandarin than what we got in Iron Man 3 with the fake Mandarin, but I was still kind of it's kind of lame, but okay, whatever. It's still cool. I liked it. I liked its direction, but I'm not clamoring for Shang-Chi 2. So, and I don't think we're going to get a Shang-Chi 2. I don't think anybody else really. I think it was a cool thing. Again, right after Endgame, it was just something. But my stance is you got to go with the A-listers. Shang-Chi's not an A-lister. I just don't see it happening. But the guy he did a good job, so I can understand why they wanted to give him another major, Spider-Man, the character that we want to see movie of. Even though
right,
3 more, we still want more. So, I think he did a good job. So look, I think he'll do a good job with this.
I think it was a well-done movie. I felt like it had the right amount of humor in it. It wasn't over the top. It was visually a very well-done movie. And I can't think of the actor's name, but the guy who played Shang-Chi is very charming. I want to see more of him in the MCU. maybe not another Shang-Chi 2, maybe just part of the Avengers or something going forward. But
well, the whole point was he was supposed to and take the place of Iron Fist since they tanked that on Netflix.
Yeah. So we'll see. I'm excited. I think it was done well visually. I think the story was good. Hopefully he takes the job again. They're in negotiations. It's not final as of this recording, but yeah, I'm excited. I really want a Spider-Man 2. I mean 4. So this is interesting. There's 2 articles. I only included the one here. This will lead into our final story main topic. But both Ian McGregor and Hayden Christensen have come out in interviews this week and said they would love to do an Obi-Wan season 2. And Hayden Christensen said he would take any opportunity to play Darth Vader again. So I thought that was interesting. And it's funny because that is actually where the whole digital voice thing came from. They took James Earl Jones' voice from, the early Darth Vader appearances, the early movies, and put it into that engine and made the vocals for because that scene at the end where they're fighting and it's half Darth Vader and half Hayden Christensen talking, like they used that for his voice so they could get that, like, because you can't have a younger Hayden Christensen sound like a 90-year-old or 92-year-old James Earl Jones. It had to work. It had to fit. And but yeah, so I don't know. I like Obi-Wan season 1 was okay, but once you got to that final fight at the end, it was like I loved it. Like that's why you watch the show, is for that final lightsaber battle. You're shaking your head, Don. You did not like Obi-Wan?
No, I loved Obi-Wan.
Oh, okay.
Like, and you're right. The fight between him and Vader was one of the most emotional things I ever felt.
Yeah.
It was awesome. But I liked the whole show. I really did. I liked the character development that Princess Leia got. I know for whatever reason people complained about that.
No.
But I thought it was great character development.
And you could do a season 2 and bring the kid back who played Luke and give Luke a little bit of development at that point.
You could. With all that said, though, I want to see Hayden Christensen more as Anakin Skywalker, because as Vader's visual and the way he sounds, that makes Vader. I'll talk more about that later. But don't get me wrong, I love the whole, you saw half of his face was Hayden Christensen, the voice going in between Hayden Christensen and James Earl Jones. I loved all that. But we seen it. We seen it.
Yes.
Like, I don't want an Obi-Wan season 2 where all they do is every season, they find a way to bring Obi-Wan and Darth Vader back to a fight. Like, there's supposed to be a lot of time between the last fight and when he let him kill him on the Death Star so that everyone could escape. So I would love to see Obi-Wan season 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever, but I'm done with the Obi-Wan Vader thing. We're done. We've seen it. He needs to be far away, or else it will make no sense.
Actually, it's funny. Before John chimes in, I watched a video. Pardon me. There's a deleted scene in Revenge of the Sith where, so you saw Yoda meditating, and he hears Qui-Gon's voice telling him to go to Dagobah, and then at the end where there's no talking, it's just the music playing, and they show Padme's funeral, they show Darth Vader on the Death Star on the Star Destroyer, and the Death Star is being built, and they show baby Luke being brought to Aunt Beru and Uncle Owen, and baby Leia being taken by
Organas.
The Organas. Yeah. So but there was a scene of Yoda landing on Dagobah, but they cut that because Lucas said, I want to concentrate on just the Skywalkers at the end of this, which I don't disagree with that. But the idea was then he landed on Dagobah and he learned about how to communicate with Force ghosts,
And become
Qui-Gon,
one.
while on Dagobah, and then how he could become one at the end. And I bring this up because at the end of Obi-Wan, the whole show, he's talking to Qui-Gon, and like you don't see him until the end of the last episode. Qui-Gon shows up, and it's like, oh, been a long time. Yeah. So like there should be, and this is what Star Wars should be doing instead of giving us the Acolyte. They should be giving us a season 2 of that show where Qui-Gon is teaching Obi-Wan some more things about being one with the Force, so that it makes more sense when he fights Vader and in episode 4 that he lets Vader kill him because he knows he's going to become one with the Force. So, that's my take on it. All right, John, what do you think? Do you want more Hayden Christensen as Anakin or Darth Vader, or you want an Obi-Wan season 2?
I wouldn't mind it, but I would also rather see them concentrate on new stuff, not
Okay.
Skywalker saga stuff, but like come up with something, a new saga, maybe like like Don has said, like pull some stuff from Yuza Vong, bring them in, do something cool, It's something big. They need something big, something cool, and something driven by the fans, not by a board. So, but I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind a season 2 of that. I just, it was.
Wait,
it was good.
I'm going to deconstruct that statement for a second. I want to see something dictated by the fans and not by a board, but that's something our old co-host, oh my God, JD would say all the time, is that you can't create art by committee, and having the audience dictated is kind of the same thing. I think the problem is they let someone create, sorry, Don, the Acolyte, who had a single vision, who had a I want to say a more darker idea of the Jedi, right? Like they were down on the Jedi. In fact, I've talked to people and listened to other podcasts where they talk about that show, and like they didn't like the Jedi so much after that show, right? And it's, look, I get it. It's the feel of an organized religion, and people don't like that, and all that stuff. And there is corruption within those organizations. I get it. We're also at the beginning of the fall of the Jedi and all that kind of stuff. But like, no one looked at it and said, hey, you know what? The fans might be pissed off by some of this stuff. Like, let's take a step back and figure out like where we can tweak it. And is that wrong? Is that right? I don't know. But yeah, I think a lot of people were pissed off by the Acolyte, not because it was some board who decided it, but because somebody with a single vision trying to tell a story that didn't really kind of fit with everything else in Star Wars, Well,
like,
you
also,
need to
have a horrible. It wasn't a really great story.
No, it wasn't a great story, but you need people to step in and say, hey, you know what? Let's tweak this a little bit, because fans might be pissed off if you show all the Jedi being assholes and not caring, So,
or just be damn incompetent.
Well, yeah.
Anyway,
so yeah. All right. Well, here we are, guys. This is what y'all came for. Unfortunately, this is the final thing of the night. But I want to talk about this because he touched so many people's lives. Of course, the great legend that was James Earl Jones passed away at 93 this week. If you're watching this show, you were probably a Star Wars fan, and I'm sure your first interaction with the man was hearing his voice as Darth Vader. But then you probably maybe are a Disney fan, and you've heard his voice as Mufasa, but yet you maybe have watched movies like Field of Dreams and saw him live action so much. He had such a great career, such an amazing actor. So yeah, I want to talk about him a little bit. What we guys, what are some of your memories of him? John, you can go first.
Well, let me give you some background first. His feature film debut was in 1964 with Dr. Strangelove. He was the first black president of the United States in 1972's The Mann. He was in Conan the Barbarian in 1982 as the villain. When every time you turn on CNN, if you ever do, and you hear "This is CNN," that's him. He recorded that a long time ago. They still use it. For Star Wars: A New Hope, he was paid $7,000. But he declined the screen credit because he wanted to give. It was in deference to the actor who played the role on screen, which was David Prowse. Sorry. Yeah, and he's an EGOT.
Yes.
So, and those of you that don't know what an EGOT is, it's about this close to being immortal. It means you got. Yeah, go ahead.
An Emmy, a Grammy, a Tony, and an Oscar.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry, Oscar and Tony. That's how it's spelled.
Right.
EGOT, but yeah.
So he's got all of them. There are very, very, very few people on the planet ever, like in history, that have been able to get all four of those. But he's one of them. So I mentioned the movie in which I saw him first and recognized, James Earl Jones. That was in Conan the Barbarian. Because I looked up at the screen and going, why is Darth Vader the villain in why is he using Darth Vader's voice as the villain in this? And then I found out that that is the guy who does the voice for Darth Vader. So it was that was it. And he was impressive even in that movie. He is a presence on the screen.
Yeah.
And you can tell in almost anything he's done, and his voice. I mean, his voice is right up there with like Morgan. Yeah, it's like the thing that the voices off the top of your head.
The voices you
Walken,
want to narrate
Morgan
your
Freeman,
life.
Samuel Jackson.
Well, no, I mean, it's like Morgan Freeman or James Earl Jones. Who do you want to narrate your life?
Yeah, because you don't want Christopher Walken doing that. So that was my first. That was the first time I recognized the entity known as James Earl Jones, and again I went to see the movie in theaters in 1982. So,
Don, what about you? What's your first memory of James Earl Jones?
Oh, I mean, the obvious answer is going to be as the voice of Darth Vader.
Yeah.
Maybe I didn't know it, in my first couple of watch throughs of Star Wars as I was very young, but I will always remember. I mean, guys, James Earl Jones, okay, if George Lucas is the wheel and the rudder to the pirate ship known as Star Wars, James Earl Jones is the mast on which they affix the sail, which makes the whole thing move, right? Because his voice made Darth Vader the world's best villain. It is because of James Earl Jones's voice that Star Wars is more than just some hokey space opera from the 70s that everybody makes fun of, right?
Battle Beyond the Stars.
It is now this mega franchise that will live longer than any of us. And it's because of James Earl Jones's voice making Darth Vader the best villain in cinema history. I mean, have any of you heard David Prowse's dialogue?
Yes.
I'll do a little bit of impression for you. You're part of a rebel alliance and a traitor. Take her away. Okay?
It's more like get her the comfy chair. That's right. What you're expecting from that voice.
So I credit Darth Vader for the whole Star Wars franchise that, again, will last beyond any of us and that I love today. If it wasn't for him, it simply would not exist. Again, it would be a hokey space opera that they came out with back in the 70s, where they used a bunch of models, glued them together, and made it look halfway decent. So,
I mean, there were a couple of happy accidents that made Star Wars what it is. It's one of those lightning in a bottle things almost. But he is definitely, like you said, he is like one of the main pillars of that. And you take him away, and it's a three-legged stool. If the whole thing falls over, because as we've said on this show before, you cannot have a good story without a good villain.
Okay, hold on. I'm sorry.
What is this undertone that I'm getting here?
Real quick, Kassan says, Don wearing a Browns jersey. I don't know if I can continue following this podcast. You do know that Don is from Ohio, right? There, Kassan? Like,
right.
Got to support the local boys.
Even if they suck ass most years. So love the reference there, Thrawn. So because the next question I think you're going to ask me, Dave, is first time you saw him in live action, and that's it. Coming to America.
Yeah. I wanted to say that. So I always point this out. I was 6 years old when Empire Strikes Back came out. I did not see Star Wars in the theater, but the first movie I really remember seeing in the theater was Empire Strikes Back, and being taken aback by Darth Vader. Like, he was the scary presence on screen, right? And kudos to George Lucas, who understood that, like, his voice had to be different. It could not be like the actor who was portraying, he needed a big guy to play Darth Vader in that costume to be this presence on screen, but obviously the voice had to be deep and menacing. So he got James Earl Jones to do the voice, and it was great vision on his part, right? And also great vision on his part by putting him in a mask that didn't have a mouth, so that it didn't have to sync up, right? It didn't matter. You just, he does the hand gestures and he's talking, and it brilliant visuals, brilliant direction by George Lucas. I don't care what people say. Like, he was a visionary, and that was such a brilliant move on his part. But I'll tell you this: at 6 years old, I didn't understand that there was somebody else in the costume, and James Earl Jones was doing the voice. I thought James Earl, I didn't know it was James Earl Jones. I just knew, oh wow, whoever plays Darth Vader's got this deep booming voice. Like, that's all I thought as a kid. That's all you think. And then I remember the first time I saw him in live action was not Coming to America. I was too young, but was Field of Dreams.
Oh yeah, he was in that.
Such a great movie. If you're a baseball fan, or if you grew up playing Little League and all that kind of stuff too, I think it's just one of those things. It's a great piece of Americana, and of course he's in that movie. And it was
talking baseball movies. See, you Field of Dreams. I've ever seen that, but The Sandlot.
Yeah,
that's my baseball movie. And I thought he had a great role in that too.
Yeah,
you're killing.
But I remember, but I know that was the first time I saw him live action, and it was just like, oh, Darth Vader is in Field of Dreams. That was my thought watching this as a kid. Like, oh look, there's Darth Vader. So yeah, and it wasn't until I was much older I realized, oh no, there's somebody else in the mask. And I want to tell this story too, and I know it really has nothing to do with a remembrance of James Earl Jones, but I always thought this was fascinating too. Empire Strikes Back. David Prowse, the line that he said in the movie when they recorded the dialogue, when he was recording the scene where he's fighting Luke, he basically says that Obi-Wan betrayed the Jedi, right? And that's whatever it was. He there's some kind of stupid line that he gives, and that's what Mark Hamill, Luke Skywalker's reacting to, and he's like, "Oh, that's not true. That's possible. It's a lie." The only people that knew what he really said were Mark Hamill and James Earl Jones, and obviously George Lucas. Like at that point, James Earl Jones recorded the. I guess the sound engineer knew too. That recorded his voice for the show or for the movie. But like that's another brilliant thing. Like he was able to keep that secret so long because the actor on set said something completely different. And James Earl Jones said, "No, I'm your father." You know. So it's like and basically right before they went to record it, Mark Hamill always talks about this. He's like, now he's gonna say this, but this is what he's really saying, and this is what we want you to react to. You know, and that's like that was so brilliant, you know. Such a brilliant move. And you know, and I will say this too, my favorite role besides Darth Vader for James Earl Jones was when he played himself in The Big Bang Theory. It is one of the utmost best episodes of that show where Sheldon goes to meet him and he's at his favorite sushi restaurant and he's sitting there at the table and Sheldon walks up and he goes, let me guess, you like Star Wars? And Sheldon shakes his head yes, and he goes, well, let me tell you something. I like Star Wars too, and like they just become fast friends and they hang out. Oh my god! And the aside, people don't know this. That show also had Carrie Fisher on it, who we lost a few years ago. It's the only time the two of them met. It's the first time the two of them ever met in person. Was doing The Big Bang Theory.
Yep.
It's one of the most amazing things ever.
Comedy brings people together.
Go. So,
and
go ahead.
It just goes to, but going back to what he did with Star Wars and The Empire Strikes Back, it goes to show you his character. That instead for billing, especially after like with The Empire Strikes Back, he still didn't have his name put up to let David Prowse, get the credit for his acting in the suit. And especially for a black actor at the time to forego the amount of talk that would have generated for him. Not that he needed in a couple of years.
Right. I was
he couldn't have known that.
He already had a decent career at that point. He had been in, like you said, Doctor Strangelove. He had
The
been
Exorcist
in Roots.
to the Heretic, Zuzu. And it's like,
he had been in Roots at that point. Amazing movie if you've ever seen it. So like I get it. He didn't need it, but you're right. It speaks a lot to his character. Like, give the guy who's doing the physical acting the credit. Like, I'm just a voice, but it's his gravitas that pulls you into that character.
Or makes you feel creeped out by him, or makes him feel threatening.
Greatest villain intro in film, period.
Pretty
is
much.
In Star Wars when that door opens and he comes out and you hear the breathing. It's you cannot. There's never been a better villain entrance ever. I'm sorry. Fight me on it. I don't care.
No, Dave, it's one that they use over and over and over again, and it has the same effect every time. Like if you play like a Star Wars video game, like Star Wars, the new one, Outlaws, right? They do it there where, there's an Imperial guy. He's sitting there, door open behind him, and you hear that breathing. And he's like, oh, fuck. Like you instantly know who the fuck just stepped into the room. And all you got to hear is, that breathing. Like they do it successfully over and over again. It's that badass.
Yeah. We'll address Kassan's comment at the end there. What's besides Darth Vader, right? Because we're all going to say Darth Vader. Besides Darth Vader, favorite James Earl Jones role other than Darth Vader, John.
I would have to. Well, I mean, I liked him in was it Conan the Barbarian?
Okay. I agree.
But how about let's pull a weird one out. Mr. Moses in Meteor Man.
Oh my God. Okay.
Now, I mean, in all seriousness, like, I don't know, it was when I say that was my first memory of him was Conan the Barbarian. Like, that's it. But I'll tell you, okay. After that, I would say Coming to America. He was fun in that one, and you could tell he had fun with that role too.
Yeah. Okay. Don.
Oh yeah. Coming to America. It's a movie I love. And just like, and I've touched upon this a little bit, me kind of being fatherless throughout my childhood. It's like James Earl Jones was kind of a dad to me because he was Luke Skywalker's dad, right? In a way. Like honestly, I remember watching Empire Strikes Back, when I was young. And I could not have resisted my father saying, "Hey, come join me, son." And we can take this galaxy together. Like, to me as a little boy, I was like, well, Luke, oh my God, how are you not doing that? Because that would be great. But anyway, fast forward
They go skipping off into the distance,
right?
Hand in hand, lightsabers waving. It's like,
but then fast forward to Coming to America, and again, he's a proud father of his son. What is Hakeem? Or hey, sire, the people are waiting. And he's like, well, make them wait. I'm talking to my son. Like, I don't know. It's good shit for
pretty good.
Man.
I have to agree with both of you and make it a third. It's Coming to America. I mean, it's one of the, if you grew up in the 80s, it is a staple of our childhood, but it's a fun movie, and you can tell as an actor, he's having fun in that role. He's being able to be funny in it and enjoy himself and have a good time with a bunch of people that he enjoys being around. And it draws you in, like all of his performances. I was going to say The Sandlot because you reminded me he was in The Sandlot. I didn't wasn't even thinking about
Myrtle.
that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is another one of my all-time favorite movies from when I was a kid.
Well, they get you good in that, right? Because they show the flashbacks to the owner of the dog, and he's some like white guy, but then you actually meet him, and he's a blind baseball player who Earl Jones,
and it's a moving part. It hits you in the feels. Especially if you're a kid, and it's one of those movies that does hit you differently when you're young than when you're an adult and rewatch it. And he's brilliant in that movie. But yeah, Coming to America is just so much fun.
And people born a little bit after us, their first memory of him is probably all the Jack Ryan movies he was in.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Because those were big at that time. Yeah, Clear and Present Danger was it? And I thought there was another one too. I'm pretty sure there was another one.
He's definitely in Clear and Present Danger, and then Patriot Games is the other one with Harrison Ford. I can't remember if he's in that one or not, because Red October is not Harrison Ford. That's what's his face? Oh my God, the ghost from Beetlejuice. One of him and the husband of Julia Roberts.
He's one of the bald ones, right? Or
Baldwin. Alec Baldwin. He was Jack Ryan in Red October.
Sorry, I would have spit it out except try to keep the Baldwins behind a secure door in my head.
Because you don't want Alec to choke you out for taking
it's the other ones that are really bad. But yeah, Clear and Present Danger. But he's been in a lot of other stuff too. Judge Dredd, 1995. He was in Judge Dredd,
the Sylvester Stallone one. Yeah,
and he was on Third Rock from the Sun. He was on Stargate SG-1. Other stuff like let's see, what else would other people? Homicide: Life on the Street. He's done voices on The Simpsons as the narrator.
He's he's somebody that, like, I'm gonna agree with Don. There's something about him, even when he's playing Darth Vader, that's fatherly about him. He hits you in the feels even without trying.
You
He was a
you know what else
Good.
he's good as a father? Mufasa.
Yeah.
I don't know
that
how we
was
haven't
the
mentioned
article.
that yet.
I know. That was the article too, that I kind of alluded to earlier. They're talking about, because he signed his. No one knows what the details of that agreement were, that he signed the rights over to his voice. It's believed that it was just to do Darth Vader, but Disney owns everything now.
Yeah.
And they are talking about doing a Mufasa movie.
Well,
now.
they are doing it's not animated, is it?
Yeah, it's an animated, and there's a different
seems,
actor.
Yeah.
It's a young Mufasa, and there's a different actor doing the voice, but there's a possibility of flash forwarding him talking to Simba, telling the story.
Yeah.
Do they use the digital James Earl Jones voice in that sense? I always remember you made me think of it. It was in The Simpsons, and it was Bleeding Gums Murphy, but then it was Darth Vader and then Mufasa appearing in the clouds after Bleeding Gums Murphy passed away. But yeah, as I was saying, he's touched so many people. He will be missed, definitely. Like, he was a force in this world, and he was always so humble in interviews and everything too. And he's one of the few people, not few. He's one of the only actors from Star Wars that I've wanted to meet that I never had a chance to meet before he passed away. So that saddens me a lot. At least I got to meet Carrie Fisher before she passed away. But and actually, I can't think of their names. Kenny Baker, who was R2D2, and Chewbacca was. Come on, Don.
I'm drawing a blank on that one too. Yeah.
Jeez. Oh, he's such a nice guy too. God, this pisses me off.
You're talking about the voice of Chewbacca?
No, that was all done digitally, basically.
Yeah, like a broken speaker.
The guy in the suit,
Peter Mayhew. Peter Mayhew.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God, one of the sweetest men you could ever meet. So yeah, it's funny because they're definitely the three I've met, and they've
He's
all passed away.
7'3". 7'3".
Well, he passed away in 2019 in April.
Yeah.
Yes.
April 30th.
Yep. Anyway, I've babbled long enough. He will be missed. That's all I can say is Godspeed, and we'll probably hear his voice again.
Well, no, you absolutely will, because I'm going to bring up Kassan's comment here. Yeah, no, he is absolutely signed on to be Darth Vader forever.
Forever.
But
that's the only thing we know for sure, is that he's definitely going to be Darth Vader forever.
But with that, they didn't use his voice for the Outlaw games when Darth Vader appeared in Star Wars Outlaws. So I'm not sure what that's about. But he is supposed to.
Who makes the game?
Oh, you got me there. What, does it matter? It might be LucasArts.
If it's not LucasArts, that might be what the issue is. It might be. Is it Bethesda?
Oh, it's Ubisoft.
Ubisoft. That was it. Yeah. It's not LucasArts, so they might not have the rights to it.
Stupid. That makes me really not ever buy it. I'm never going to buy that game.
You would think that game development takes a while, so maybe the game development and the rights and all that and the contract for that happened before they had
because let's be honest, James Earl Jones was alive when that game was being made. The voices were recorded a long time ago.
Yeah.
So they could have just had James Earl Jones come in and do it, but they didn't want to pay James Earl Jones money. So, yeah.
Ooh, Thronkill got to meet Peter Mayhew. Nice.
Yeah. I got to hang out with him at a birthday party, so I'm just going to leave it there. All right. So that is it, guys. That is all the news. We made it. We did it. Now, let's go around the room and tell me, what did you learn this week, or do you have any recommendations? And Don, you can go first.
Yeah, I recommend that Kassan watch the Browns each and every week, as I think you'll enjoy. Oh, that's a joke. He obviously doesn't like the Browns. What I learned though is I apparently we don't care that we know that Null's going to be in Venom 3, The Last Dance, so we didn't really touch upon that.
God, I don't want to talk about Venom, but go ahead.
Well, who put it on the docket? We're going to go see it, right? Like, I don't want to, but I will. I'm not even going to see Venom 2. I'm going to create a cardinal. I'm going to commit a cardinal sin. I'm not going to see Venom 2. I'll go see Venom 3. I'm not going to see Venom 2.
I told you my first date with Karen was we went to see Venom 2. It was so weird, but go ahead.
But Null is a cool character. I wonder if they're going to introduce the son of Venom with this. Null is the god of symbiotes. For those of you that don't know, his weapon has actually already been featured in the MCU. Not sure if you guys know this, but the Necro Sword from Thor: Love and Thunder.
That was Null's.
Yeah, that's Null's sword. So we'll see how that goes. So
yeah, we'll see Null when we see Mephisto, probably.
No,
we were supposed to see Mephisto, John. We were supposed to see him. It just
we were.
Didn't they say he's going to be in something upcoming? I thought.
I swear I've heard that too. Actually,
Sacha Baron Cohen is playing him.
Yeah,
what was it that? I can't
playing Mephisto? That's a really interesting pick.
That's going to be goofy, yeah. Because I wanted, what was that guy who was from Game of Thrones? He's my favorite character in Game of Thrones. Charles Dance? Is that his name?
I was going to say Peter Dinklage.
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Peter Dinklage is Null.
No, we've gone too far. All right.
Oh, yes, Peter Dinklage can do anything, man. That guy's awesome.
No, but I mean, we will be reviewing that movie, unfortunately, when it comes out. So we'll talk about it all then. We'll see what we get. Yeah, I didn't want to talk about the last trailer that came out because
he plays Tywin Lannister, who's my favorite character on Game of Thrones.
All right, how about you, John?
Well, I just watched today Final Crisis 2 and parts 2 and 3, the animated series.
Mm-hmm.
So it's sad that they ended that universe so quickly when it had such promise. Warner Brothers is just they're just like the fox of killing things too quickly. So, but it did have the part 3 we've mentioned before had the final words of Kevin Conroy as Batman.
Yes.
And as final words go, they were boss.
Yeah, I didn't watch that yet, but I saw the clip of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it basically is like, I will always be Batman. It was just like, oh my God.
If I'm going to go out, I'm going to go out being Batman. It's like, God damn it, man. Yeah.
Did you cry? You cried, didn't you?
It hurt. God, it really hurt. And it was nice because Will Friedle came back as Terry McGinnis in part 2. Batman Beyond was in that one. There were a whole bunch of voices that came back, and it was, who knows that they've reboot again, Final Crisis. They're now on Earth Prime. There's no more multiverse. Sure, there isn't. But yeah,
that's not how DC works.
We'll see what happens. But God, this animated universe only just got started after they erased the last one, after they rebooted Bruce Timm's one, and you put 5-6 movies in and then you reboot it. It's like, dude, spend some time in there, tell some stories. Don't just keep killing it because some executive got hired. Now he wants to show, like you were saying before, his vision of things.
I think
so.
Yeah, I feel like if Cape Crusader had been, it's not like it did bad, but what didn't do as well, I think, as they expected. I think that would have been your next universe, would have been built off of that. So,
yeah. So other than that, like I said, the the trailer for what is it? Shoot, Arcane came out. Arcane second season, and that's awesome. And everybody should see Arcane. And I mean, it's sad that it ended, but the Crisis, the 3-part Crisis, you should watch them. The first 2 parts are on Max right now. Third should be up soon.
All right. I learned actually, and I think this is a good lesson. I learned that like we all have very similar memories of James Earl Jones, similar feelings about the man, and I think that's a good thing. It shows that he did have a huge impact, at least on the nerd community, and that's a good thing. It really is. I mean, he'll be missed, but it was a good thing. I also will recommend a couple of things. Actually, I have recommendations this week. Believe it or not, I renewed my HBO Max subscription because it had lapsed, because I had heard that they did an animated Watchmen film, and I was hoping that was on there, and it's not on there yet. But I did start watching Crisis on Infinite Earth Part 1, and I did not realize that Matt Boomer is the voice of Barry Allen the Flash.
Yep.
Matt Boomer is my dream pick to play Superman. He is such a great actor. If you watched White Collar, he's charming. He looks like Superman. He should have been Superman. But no, they gave it to Henry Cavill. So, okay, fine. And I think he's probably
would have been a good pick.
Yeah, I think he's a little old to be Superman now, but that's a whole nother story. And I just got sucked in. I think I'm halfway through the first one. The first 2 are on HBO Max at the moment, so I definitely will probably have watched both by the time we get together next week. So I recommend it. It's real, like it's good. The animation's a little weird because some of the stuff is computer and some of the stuff is traditional animation, like it's mixed in. There's the scene when Barry first meets Iris in the diner, and he's drinking coffee, and the coffee's it's definitely a computer animated mug, but he's in traditional animation. It was just like, what am I watching here? But aside from that, it's done well. I know it's Crisis. You know where it's going. You know what they're setting up. Of course, Barry is the central figure in it. Like, yeah, I get it, but it's done well, so you get sucked in right away.
Barry was only the central figure in the first movie, Part 1. In this, he was out.
Really?
He was out of it the second 2.
Oh well, now you know what? Now you just ruined it for me. You know what, John? I'm done. I'm over.
No. It gives a lot more characters room to breathe. It's pretty damn good.
All right.
It's worth it.
And I've also gotten back into video games a little bit. This is going to sound bad. So I didn't realize that I could put an app on my iPad, which was a PlayStation Remote Play, and I could then connect one of the controllers to the PlayStation 5 via Bluetooth to my iPad, and I could sit in my bedroom while the PlayStation sat in my son's room, and I could play games on it. So I started playing Spider-Man 2 because I played the first one and I loved it. So I started playing the second one finally, and I've been sucked into that. It's really well done. If you've never played Spider-Man 2, which I know it's an old game at this point, but I highly recommend it. I've been enjoying it. My next thing is to get the what is it, Jedi Survivor 1 and 2. I haven't played those yet. And I've not been hearing great things about what's the game you mentioned it earlier, Don? Outlaws. Yeah, like it's like I haven't heard anything really bad, but what I've heard hasn't sucked me in. But I think you and I are the same. We're more interested in the Jedi than the smugglers. So
yeah, sure. Unless you get into like ship combat and stuff, and there's kind of some interesting things with your ship in this, but yeah, nothing that made me go full force. I mean, if it comes down to $30, I'll probably pick it up.
Yeah,
but I'm not a AAA Well, I guess unless your name is Final Fantasy Rebirth, then I'll buy a fucking PS5. But outside of that, I'm not, I'm not a day one 60, 70 buck.
Yeah.
I'm not. Video games are not that good anymore. It's few and far between.
Yeah.
So you got to come down to $30, $20 price point before I even
agree.
Again, unless you have Final Fantasy in your name, then I go crazy for some reason.
Yeah, it's funny. My son's 22 and he's getting to that point now too. But his are different. If it's Persona, he loves all the Persona games. So the next Persona game, or he loves the Dragon Ball fighting games. There's a new one coming out.
Because they are very good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I will also recommend, if you've gotten this far in the podcast and you haven't done so yet, please click that subscribe button, click that bell for notifications so you don't miss us when we go live here every Sunday night right on this channel. If you like what we're doing here, please smash that like button. It really helps with the algorithm, gets the show out there, and tell your friends about us because, we need all the help we can get. And if you're so inclined, please check out our merch store. Link is in the description below. We have some great t-shirt designs and some awesome colors for you out there. More t-shirt designs coming soon. I promise. I have a local artist that I am very close to who is currently working on a Darth Don design for the t-shirt. So that should be cool. That's the first one I told him to work on. So yeah. And I also will recommend, and you guys are going to get upset with me, but we've already discussed this, that you should go and see Transformers 1, because that is what we will be talking about on this very podcast next week.
No.
Chris Hemsworth is Optimus Prime. This should be interesting. So on that note, boys and girls, as always, thanks for watching. Don't let your cape get caught in the door. See you next week.